If you've ever found yourself in the middle of an anxiety spiral, but you don't actually have the ability to go to a therapy session or drop everything and do a really hard workout, these are the typical things that we do to help support our bodies and alleviate stress in our bodies. What do you do? And especially when you're in the middle of something like a project at work or dealing with the kids, or maybe you're operating heavy machinery or driving a car and you can't go into a full-blown meltdown because you need to keep your body safe and you need to be able to function. In this video, I'm gonna share with you ways that I've learned how to kind of quote unquote biohack my own body and some tools that I've learned along the way to help in moments just like this. I want to preface this by saying these are tools of containment. These are things that we do in a moment when we really don't have the ability to address the underlying distress. All of these tools are in and of themselves not an actual fix or a cure. And I highly recommend that if you are really struggling with stress, anxiety, depression, or any other mental health issue, that you would seek guidance and support for your own health so that you can walk through this with someone that has the tools and capacity to hold space for you. And again, this is not a prescriptive for you. This is just some things that I have found really helpful in my own life with trauma and healing. I have used these tools as my own personal little containers. It's like putting a lid on the big feelings and sensations that are going on in my body so that I can put it on a shelf for now and I can come back to it when I'm ready and I have resources and tools to actually deal with the thing that is causing me stress. But these tools are what has helped me stay functioning when I'm dealing with my son or driving a car or in the middle of something that needs my attention and needs me to be present and functioning. I think of them as a helpful way to bring my body out of that fight or flight response and help me down-regulate and bring online that parasympathetic nervous system. Now, for me, when I was first experiencing a lot of anxiety, it was completely new to me. I'd never dealt with it before in my life. And everything that I had read or looked to or done research on talked about things like breath work or meditation or thinking positive thoughts or going to your happy place, all of these tools that were out there. But for me, they felt absolutely miserable because it just brought me back into this place and space in my body and mind that were already so distressed. And then it almost made it worse because now I was trying to do breath work with a body that couldn't breathe well because it was in this stress response. But for me, when all of that swirl and all that activation is happening in my body, I need to look to the external world to anchor myself into something that's going to be benign and steady and as repetitive and boring as possible to help bring my body back into a regulated state. So one of the tools that I have used for this and being able to anchor outside of my own swirl is something like the alphabet game or a color game. And this is literally just looking around you and pick a color. Like it could be white or gray or blue or whatever color you want, but pick a color and then start looking around you and find things that are that color. This is great to do if you do have little kids with you and you're feeling the stress and the anxiety mounting. You just tell them, hey kids, we're gonna play the color game. Everybody find something orange and we just start naming everything orange that's around us that we can see. This is such a helpful way to look at something that's completely benign and very much anchoring into that external world where everything is just kind of benign and mundane and repetitive, and it gets you to come out of that place of hyper fixation on what's happening in your body and the sensations that are going off and into some things that are a little bit more steady. And very similarly, another way to do this is with the alphabet game. So you just pick a letter like S, and then you start naming all the things that you can see around you that start or begin with that letter. Now, there have been times for me personally that the tension is just right at that level of bursting, and I need to get some of this pent-up energy moved through my body. I don't have time to drop and do a full weighted workout or to guide myself through some long breathwork session, but I can move intuitively. And I always tell people, because this has been very much my experience. And so when I'm working with a client or anybody that has dealt with a lot of significant stress and they're looking to reduce stress in their lives, your body is really wise. And that's something that for me, when I was going through a lot of this in my heightened anxiety state, I really felt like I couldn't trust my own body. And that's such a miserable place to be when you cannot actually lean into your own intuition. But I want to tell you, because for me, this happened as well, you're actually able to. Your body's really, really wise. And it was built for these moments to be able to survive and to be able to move you through them. And so for me, I had to actually start learning how to trust my intuition in these heightened moments. So there would be times where I just felt like I just need to run. Like everything in me was saying like run or jump or scream, or I'd have this like guttural feeling or sensation come up in my body. And 99% of the time, that's exactly what my body needed. And so maybe I was in the middle of something and I couldn't actually go for a run, but I could run in place for a few minutes and really work that tension out of my body. Or walk to a place where nobody else is around, grab a pillow and scream into it and just get to that energy to move it out of my body in that moment. Those things were so helpful, and actually it really helped for me to repair that damage that could be done where after trauma and after loss, you really feel like you can't trust your own instincts anymore. But it really helped to bring me back to a place where I realized my body is wise and it's still a safe place for me. So being able to move intuitively or act intuitively, obviously always in a safe way, in a safe place. You don't want to do anything that's going to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. But when it comes to just moving some energy through your body, like running in place, doing a couple jumping jacks, jumping up and down, doing squats, and then doing a little squat jump, whatever it is, even just a few minutes of doing that and expelling or discharging some of that energy can be really, really helpful. I know it's been really beneficial for me. Now, another one that can be helpful, it's a little bit of both worlds where you're kind of grounding outside of yourself and you're also bringing your awareness back into your body. So it's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Easy way to remember this is basically it's 5 things that you can see. So you just look around and name 5 things that you can see. It's 4 things that you feel. So what can you feel? What's around you? What can you touch? And just kind of bringing your awareness, your senses to it. It's 3 things that you can hear. And at that point, it's kind of quieting your body back down and you're still listening to the externals, not the internal, but listening around you. Like, is the printer humming? Is the refrigerator going? What are the things that you're hearing because you're actually paying attention to them? And then it's 2 things that you can smell. And that could be anything. It could be the shampoo in your hair or the Tide detergent on your clothing. Just 2 things that you smell. And then the last one is 1 thing that you can taste. Maybe it's a mouthwash, or maybe you had coffee, so you have that remainder residue of coffee taste in your mouth. But those things are really helpful to bring you back and anchor you into kind of an external place. And then also, for me, it was a really nice on-ramp to go from that external anchoring and then wind me back into my body, and still anchoring not so much into that swirl that's happening with me, but the places that I had lost sensation or focus because everything was kind of in that immediate fight flight response. And another one that has been really helpful for me is grounding techniques or somatic grounding, somatic work. We hear these words a lot, but it's basically just experiencing with your body. And these are great for me when I feel heightened, but it's not at that point of like, I'm gonna lose it. I hope you know what I mean by that. But for me, there's like stages or degrees of anxiety or stress mounting. And there are times where it's like things feel really stressful and my brain is just a little bit overloaded and I'm feeling on the verge of kind of burnout. Grounding can be really helpful in those moments. Or if I've noticed that I'm just rushing through my day, if I've rushed to eat my food, I've rushed to get ready, I've rushed to get the to-do list done, and I'm not actually giving myself any time to experience what's going on around me. I'm just flying through it. I have found that grounding is really helpful in those moments. And so grounding techniques for me are I make them really simple because I need it to be simple, but I will just, wherever I am, if I'm standing or if I'm sitting, I will just start to feel with my body. What do I feel underneath my sit bones? How do my legs feel while I'm standing here? Do they feel tense? Are they tight? Am I clenching certain muscles? Where are my shoulders at in space? Where am I near a wall? Can I touch the wall? And just kind of finding places where I can really feel like I'm grounding back into my present moment. I'm encouraging myself to feel the weight of my body and to bring my mind back into what's actually happening right now. And that has been really helpful to just anchor myself into my current moment, to slow things down, and to, in a lot of ways, for me, it helps prevent that escalation of a stress response. Another one, if I'm feeling really emotionally triggered or engaged, that has been really helpful is a butterfly tap. And butterfly tapping is something I actually learned through EMDR. And EMDR, if you're not familiar with it, is a great therapy technique that is used for trauma. And EMDR just stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it's this idea of bilateral feedback in your body. And you often do it with, your eyes moving left to right, or oftentimes a therapist will walk you through it and they'll have little buzzers that you can hold. And so one will go off at a time in your hands. But a way that you can actually do this and help guide yourself through it is with a butterfly tap. And the butterfly tap, you just simply kind of cross your thumbs and allow your fingertips to be right brushing against your collarbone. And then it's just a slow, steady tap back and forth. It's very calming. You don't want to do anything quick or super fast, but for me, it's just these slow little taps, encouraging again for myself to come back into a place that feels calm and safe. And it's, for me, the butterfly tapping really helps to create a space of feeling safe and feeling calm. A lot of times for me, I'll actually use that at night before I go to sleep if I feel a little extra activated. And for me, it's just really helpful to bring my body back down and encourage it or nudge it more towards regulation if I'm starting to feel a little dysregulated. And then the last one, and this is one that I have probably used most often because it's just so easy to remember and it's very accessible. So this is one that I first heard of through Dr. Andrew Huberman, and it's called the Physiological Sigh. It is a deep inhale through your nose, and then another quick little inhale, and then a very slow exhale through your mouth, and nice and slow. I like to do this as if I'm breathing through a straw, so just a really slow, controlled exhale. What I noticed after doing this is that this is something, again, it's a really intuitive response in my own body. Like when I'm falling asleep, I'll notice I do this a little bit, or if I have been crying or sobbing, or you see this a lot, like I've seen this with my son. He's crying and sobbing and trying to catch his breath. And so you'll see children do like a little double breath kind of thing. And this is our body's natural, again, I kind of go back to our bodies are really wise and they're built with understanding for how to bring our bodies back into a place of safety and regulation. And so for this one, for me, this has been hands down one of the ones that I go to fastest, because if I'm driving or if I'm at work or I'm dealing with somebody or I'm on a phone call and it's stressful, it's so simple to implement. And after doing it 1 or even 2 times, I notice my body shift very quickly. And I just want to say, if you are here and you're dealing with stress and anxiety, and that's what brought you to this video, and you're curious about what has helped other people, I want you to know that you're not alone. And this is such a rough, frustrating thing to have to walk through. But more than that, if you're walking through it on your own, it feels so isolating. So I want you to know that you're not alone in this. There are plenty of people that are dealing with it, but there's also plenty of tools and resources out there for help. I would love nothing more for you than for you to reach out and grab onto some of those tools and resources around you, whether that's with a therapist or a doctor or even some friends and trusted family members. I'm not a therapist or a doctor, but I have walked through that swirl of anxiety and feeling like my body is spiraling out of control and there's no way to get back into it. And that has moved me as a practitioner with what I do with our bodies to come up with tools and resources for myself that bring me back to a place where I feel safe and I feel calm and I can move forward knowing that I'm going to take action that's actually going to do something to help my body come back into a place of regulation. So inside my studio NRS, I actually have a whole guided, what I call parasympathetic reset. A parasympathetic reset isn't a real thing. It's just what I coined it, because as I was learning all of these tools and techniques, I would just kind of jokingly call it my parasympathetic reset. But for me, it's been so helpful that I wanted to be able to offer that to other people through the movement and the mat work that I do inside the studio. So I have actually put together an entire guided parasympathetic reset for my members in the studio. And if that's something that you're interested in, I've left the link below so you can check it out and get all the information that you need. And if you have any questions or there's anything that you have experienced yourself, if you've gone through heightened stress or anxiety and you've struggled with that and you found tools that are really helpful, would you drop those in the comments below? Because I think we can all kind of learn together and learn from each other. And I would love to know your own experience. But I hope your day is beautiful, and I hope to see you back here really soon.